So I wanted a water birth and no drugs because I'm really scared of drugs and interventions and all that. So I figured the birthing center was the best place for me. And yeah, so I started having contractions 2 days before my due date in the morning. And they kind of were on and off throughout the whole day. And then they were getting stronger, a little bit stronger. Then by 8 p.m., our midwife came over and she assessed me and she's like, okay, yeah, you're in active labor. It's time to head to the birthing center. So we got there at around 9 or so.
9:30,
yeah. And then as soon as I got there, I immediately got in the tub, which was wonderful. This tub was everything I wanted for the birth. So we got there and I labored for a couple hours. There wasn't really any progress happening. So then my midwife was like, okay, maybe step out of the tub. I'll assess you and we'll see what's happening. Walk around. So I walked around. I ended up using the birth stool. I think we called for the birth ball. There was all sorts of equipment that we used.
Pretty much ended up using almost everything that was there.
Yeah.
They had a rebozo as well that you're hanging from.
Yeah. Yeah, I was using the rebozo on the birthing stool. And after a while, she was like, okay, I need to break your water because there's not really any changing happening. So we did that. And then she was like, okay, I'm warning you, the contractions are going to get a lot stronger and more intense. So I was kind of delaying it at first because I was scared of having it more intense contractions. But at the end, it was taking hours. And I was like, okay, you know what? F this. Let's just do it. So she's like, okay, get back in the tub after she broke my water. And nothing had really changed at this point. So everything was kind of still being really slow. And that's what she was kind of saying. She's like, for first-time moms, labor can be a little bit more stretched out and longer. So this is completely normal. And afterwards, we were in there for an hour or two. And then she's like, okay, get out of the tub again. We'll have to try something else. You have a few options. We can either transfer to the hospital and get induced, or I have like this trick up my sleeve that we can try. So you lie down on the bed and you try pushing this way. So it's called the stranded beetle position. So I'm on my back, holding up my knees. And at the same time, the midwife had hooked up the breast pump to try and stimulate more oxytocin. So Remy was holding the breast pump in place while I was trying to push. And the midwife was in there trying to move all the tissues because I wasn't fully dilated at this point. So that's why it was taking a long time. So I was at, I think, 9 centimeters or so?
You're at 9, and she described it as like a rubber band. It's just like that last little bit is just around his head, and it's just like as you're pushing, it's just like pushing back. She was like going in there
and trying to
and
move
like manipulating as you're pushing.
Yeah. And at this point, I had been at the birth center for like 7 or 8 hours, and I pushed for like an hour and a half. So during that, and that was all the active, like coached pushing. At this point, she was like, you won't be able to breathe your baby out, because I did the hypnobirthing course. And I was like, no, I'm going to try. And she's like, you won't be able to do that. Just start pushing and start, hold your breath and push. And I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah. Actually, a side note on that hypnobirthing thing, she said, and this was like maybe like hour 7 or 8 or something. She said, the whole breathe your baby out for a first mom, like she said she's never seen that. And this is an experienced midwife that probably had more than like 500 births or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like that kind of struck me, even though we did all this hypnobirthing stuff, right?
Yeah, so I didn't know that going in. So I was just like, I'm Zen, I do yoga, like I can do all this stuff. I can just breathe them out and they'll just whoop, right out. No, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So
after she said that comment, it kind of transitioned quickly. That was pretty much when you got out of the tub, and that stranded beetle started.
Yeah.
Not too long after that, and then you were kind of making a whole different set of noises.
Yeah, I really channeled my cave woman at this point. But during the pushing phase, that was the most intense part for me. And honestly, I think if I had been at the hospital, I would have just been like, cut me open, just get him out. And I'm actually like really afraid of drugs whatsoever and C-sections and all that. So I was like, wow, I surprised myself in the moment. And yeah, so finally the head was coming out and she was like, okay, you wanted your water birth, get back in the tub. And I was like, no, I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
And I'm exhausted. It's like 7 a.m. at this point. And I had been, we got there at 9 p.m. And I was like, no, I'm good. And she's like, get in the tub. Okay. So everybody helped me back in the tub. I got into that sling thing in a squat position. And then not even like 15 minutes later, baby was out. And you actually joined me in the tub with me. So that was nice. Finally, that last little intensity. But the water actually helped once I was in the tub. I felt like it wasn't as intense as lying on my back. And it helped like stretch the tissues. So luckily I didn't get any tearing. And I think that the water definitely helped with that. And I did a lot of like perineal massage beforehand to prep, and a lot of pelvic floor release with some self-massage balls. So I think that also helped a lot. But yeah, that was an intense birth. But everything about it was really positive. I think my midwife called for hot towels like, I don't know, 6 or 7 times at least. And then she kept on giving me like this raspberry popsicle thing because I wasn't hungry, obviously. You're in labor.
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to keep your energy up. I need to give you sugar. So that's going to be the best thing for you. And then wanted to give me like tea with sugar and stuff. So one thing to prepare is if you go bring your own like coconut water or something that has electrolytes with you, because we ran out. I didn't bring enough with me. And all the snacks that I brought, I didn't even end up eating because I was like, no. And I think at one point the birth center provided some like cheese and crackers because my midwife was like, you need to eat. You're exhausted. We need to give you get your energy back up. And then I just ate and I couldn't even swallow the cheese. And I was like, that's not happening.
You ended up puking.
Yeah, I ended up puking it. I was like, I can't do this right now. But yeah, baby was born at 8:33 in the morning after quite an experience.
It's like almost 12 hours of that.
Yeah.
Labor, right?
Which was, but I'll definitely go back to the birth center. I really enjoyed the experience. And I think hopefully for next baby, I can be able to breathe them out.
It was interesting over the course of the night. I mean, Carolyn kind of says like, in and out of the tub a bunch of times, and the midwives ended up doing a lot of different manipulations and things. The way it seemed was that like we were kind of always like they mentioned at many points in the night that there was always like a risk or like a worry that, okay, well, maybe we'd have to go to the hospital, right? Like if it's not progressing past a certain point, or if, because she was taking a long time. So, she'd be in the tub for a couple hours.
3 hours.
Like 2 or 3 hours. Okay, we're not really seeing the change. Okay, get out. Let's try something else. And then they try something else. Okay, then go back in the tub, see if, break the water back in the tub. And then still not really seeing much of anything. And so they're starting to say, well, we might have to, because this is taking so long, they're like risking, we might have to go to the hospital. So there's a lot of like that talk over the night. But, and then of course I know she was like, even though at one point she kind of like said like, I'll screw it, cut me open. Like I know that she didn't want to go to the hospital whatsoever.
Well, what stopped me was that I didn't want to get up, put my clothes on, because it was January 29th, right? So it was like -18 outside. And I'm like, I don't want to have to get out of this room, put my clothes on, get like transferred to the hospital, and then go through all that bullshit. So I was like, that's what stopped me from transferring. Oh, I know.
And apparently, like And that's with being like 6 minutes away from the hospital, apparently, something like that.